Hi there and welcome to Transcona Trailer Sales. Today we'll be walking you through your 2025 Intech Aucta Willow. We are just going to start off at the back of the unit. If you notice, you are pre-wired for an observation camera right up top there. If you'd like to get set up with that, you can contact the parts department and we can put together a quote for you. Located on both sides. In the back here, you do have stabilizer jacks. The way that works is you're going to hook up a tool, which is located in the front compartment, which I'll show you in a minute. It's essentially just a 3/4 inch socket. You're gonna take this and drive it down to the ground. Once the foot contacts the ground, just give it another 1/8 turn, and it's just gonna take any bouncer sway you see you have in the unit right now away. You do have 2 in the back here, and then you're gonna have 1 on either side in the front. On the left, if you open this guy up, you're gonna notice you got that tool I was telling you about. Like I said, essentially it is just a 3/4 inch socket, and it just goes on there like so. Also inside here, you do have this front cover for that front window. That way, whenever you're traveling, you don't run the risk of a stone picking up and smashing your front window. All it essentially does is you're going to take one end. It's going to have a piece of rubber right at the top. It's just going to slide into this track, and then you just got buttons all around just to secure it down. And that's going to be as simple as that. Located to the left of that compartment, if you open this guy up, you are just going to have your main water inlet. You can either you can either fill up your fresh tank, and that's what your water pump draws off of, or if you're at a site with service, you can thread a garden hose into this guy here, turn it on. It's going to pressurize all those lines without the need to run your water pump. Down from there, you do have just a little exterior hose setup. Just comes with this simple nozzle here, and it just locks into this like so. You just push it in, pull it back on the collar like an airline, and it locks into place. And you can just tuck it away in there like so. Inside this compartment is just going to be some storage. And then down below here, you got your storage spot for your sewer hose. We store this right here just to keep some of the smell out of the unit. You're just taking note of those 2 ears there. There's going to be the same 2 ears that hook up to your sewer outlet, which is right there. Essentially, you just take this, twist it. This cap will come off. And then you're just noticing those ears. Those are the same ears that you've seen on your sewer hose, and they just line up and lock into place like so. And then, of course, you're going to have your black and your gray. Sewage is going to be, of course, black, which is on the right, and then wastewater is going to be your gray, which is on the left. You're always going to want to empty that sewage first, as it's going to be your dirtiest water filled from your toilets. Then you can come behind that with your wastewater, which is typically filled from your sinks and your showers, typically a little cleaner water. To the left here, you do have your main 30 amp twist lock power connection. Just take a note of that notch there. It lines up with this notch here. Just pressing that into place, 8th turn to lock it down, and then you take that threaded collar and thread it down to really lock it into place. If you follow that cord back, you do have your standard 30 amp plug end. Most campsites should have this, and you can plug right on in. But let's say you have the unit at home and you want to run your fridge, or your campsite only has 15 amp service. We do include a 15 amp park adapter. Just keep it in mind, you go down to 15 amps of power, you won't be able to run something like your air conditioner. It's just really to run your fridge and your lights. Whenever your furnace is running, this guy's going to be blowing out hot air, so just be mindful of that. Right here, you got your main little port for your water heater. Main thing you're worried about is that power switch right there, making sure that that's on. It's supplying power to the thermostat, which is inside. And then you got a pressure relief valve right down here in the corner. One thing I'll mention, this isn't going to be like your traditional tanked water heater. Traditionally, you're going to have to bypass this for winterization, but with this guy here, you are going to run the antifreeze through it, just making sure it is off when you're doing so. And then just cracking this relief valve when you're done and just leaving it open. That way it allows all the antifreeze to get out of those coils, allowing it not to freeze. And underneath this front cover here, just taking these pins and pulling them, and they're going to slide out of place. That's just going to give you access to pull this out of the way to your propane tanks. You got 2 20-pound standard propane tanks. They open up just like home, counterclockwise, opens up the flow of to the unit, and opening them up all the way, of course, And then you got a selector valve here. So obviously with it pointed this way, you're gonna be drawing off this tank, but if this tank were to go empty, you could just switch it over to this side and start drawing off this tank while this one's getting filled. That's gonna be about it for inside there. Just snaps into place, like so. And then you got your front tongue jack. Of course, one way's up, the other way's down, and then you have a light right up front. Around this side, opening up this compartment here, you're gonna notice you got this shorter leg. That's just gonna be for that front table. In case you were to want to drop that down into a bed, you got the shorter leg so that that table sits nice and sturdy in there. And you can take your back cushions, fill in the center, which I'll show you in a second. Two 110 plug outlets, of course, and another two more right back here. And then you do have a quick connection for propane. So if you were to get the hose from our parts department, you can get a connector to hook up to a standard barbecue, and that way you can have propane flowing right from the front to the back here to your barbecue. If you'd like to do so, you can. Just always making sure you put that dust cap on whenever you're done using it, and just opening up that valve so that it opens up the flow. And then inside this compartment here, you're just opening that guy up. That's where you're gonna find your standard starter kit. I already have the sewer hose in the holder there, which I showed you already. And then you just have a couple other goodies, 15-foot water hose, some gloves, toilet paper, stuff like that, as well as that 15 amp arc adapter, which I told you about. To get inside, you're just taking this door, opening it on up. All the way. That'll allow you access to your stairs by just pulling, and that'll allow it to fold down. You do have adjustable feet just by pulling these pins, and you can adjust to each hole depending on your campsite needs. So you have nice and level and sturdy chairs. Off to your left, first thing you're gonna notice is your fire extinguisher. That's gonna be just like home. Pull the pin and shoot. And then you have your light switches here, of course. You're gonna have your main lights, your dinette accent, your cabinet lights, which turns on some blue cabinet lights, and then of course you have some front light accent lights, which light up blue at the front of the unit. And then you do have a porch light, which turns on a porch light on the outside there. You got a smoke detector right above your head. Then at the left, you got your max air fan control. Turning that button on adds power to this and opens it up automatically. It is electric. And then of course you got your different fan settings. So you got 1, 2, 3, and 4. And then you can control how high you got your vent open just by manually pressing those buttons, or you can just press that off button. It'll automatically close it. Right here is where I'm talking about for the table. You got your standard size leg here, so you can sit at it like a table and eat. If you were to take this leg out and put in that other leg, it's gonna sit here like a bed, and you can just take those back cushions and put them on top of here, and it'll allow you to have another bed for a guest if you were to have one. You got these cushions, they all are removable. On one thing I'll mention on this side here, if you take these cushions out of the way, pop this guy up, you notice you're gonna have a little trap door. It is held down with 2 screws, and that's just gonna give you access to 2 lithium batteries. If it came time to pulling those out for winterization, you got the spot to do so. Just putting those cushions back into place. Back on the wall here, you're gonna have your awning control little panel here, so you can turn the light on just with the press of that button, or turn it off with the button below it. And then of course you have your awning in or out. So hitting that button out once will get that awning to automatically start rolling its way out. It is gonna fully roll out, so making sure that you do have room. You can stop it. There is a stop button right in the middle. If you hit that, it's gonna stop where it's at. But again, just be mindful whenever you are running it to make sure that you have room for it. This is also built in with an automatic wind sensor, so once it starts sensing wind, it'll automatically suck itself in, which I might be able to demonstrate for you in a second. If you do notice those winds picking up though, especially if you start getting over 5 kilometers an hour, just make sure you automatically bring it in yourself. That way, in case for whatever reason that main feature doesn't work, you're safe, you're not going to wreck your own. Hit that a few times. Super nice feature with this awning. And at that point, it is just going to stay in. It's not going to come back out. So we'll just take a step back outside because once it's automatically in, it's just going to stop on its own. Nothing you need to do there. You got a USB plug-in over here as well as a 110 GFI protected outlet. TV on the wall. It is on a little travel mount. You're just having to kind of pull on it a little bit and it'll come off that mount. You're going to notice right back here, you're going to see that red light. That's just letting you know that the antenna is on the roof. There's a little black button where you can turn it off. We recommend leaving it on just because it also improves radio frequency. And then just whenever you're traveling, just making sure it does snap into place so it doesn't go anywhere whenever you're traveling. If you open up this cupboard here, you're going to access that suburban water heater control. Hitting that power button turns it on. If these arrows are on, it is on. So when you turn on the hot water, it'll automatically start trying to make hot water. You can adjust your temperature just by going up and down. You can change it between Celsius and Fahrenheit. That button, whenever you first get it, it's going to be stuck on 50 and it won't let you go over that unless you hold the button for 5 seconds. In which case it'll unlock it out of child mode and put it to, you can put it to 55. That's just to help protect kids from scolding their hands. You got your battery disconnect on the right. With it in the on position like it is so, the batteries are connected to the unit. And if you were to turn it to off, the batteries become disconnected from the unit. And then you have your fuse and breaker panel. Whenever you have a fuse pop, there'll be a little red indicator light telling you which one's popped. And then whenever breaker trips, it's going to sit in the middle, so you do just have to turn it off and then back on again to reset it. Of course, you got lots of storage all around here. Coming to the kitchen area, you got your sink with hot and cold water, some storage above, as well as in the front, there's storage above here. All the blinds in the unit are going to work the same way. They're just going to kind of sit where you leave them. And one quick tug will allow that to retract back up. You got a nice kitchen accent light. In here, you're going to find one of 2 main GFI plugs. Whenever a GFI trips, it's going to sit in the middle. So this green light's going to go off. And you just have to press the reset button and it'll reset itself. You got your stove, which is pretty simple. It's just like any standard barbecue. You're just turning that over to the light, hitting the sparker, and it fires right on up. Whenever you are operating this, just being mindful it's glass, and when you go to bring it down, you do have to pull it up first and then bring it down, because otherwise it won't want to go down, because it's for a safety feature to stop it from smashing. So like I said, just pull up and it'll come down a lot easier. You got your convection oven right down below here, just like home. Not much I'm going to show you there. You got all your options there, of course. Inside this cupboard, if you open it up, it's going to get you to your inverter. So you got fuse breaker panel right here. So if it's not working, I would check just to make sure you haven't tripped any circuits. And then of course you got your switch for your inverter. Always leave it off whenever you're not using it. If you turn it on, it is going to turn that inverter on, which does allow you to turn battery power into 120. It's only going to last for so long. It's going to give you an overlay right here of kind of your amp hours that you have, what you're using, what you're charging at type of deal. You got your solar controller on the right, which isn't really a controller, it's just a monitor panel system. It doesn't even show you that. But on here, it will show you what you're charging at and everything. You just got to scroll through the few different menus that you got. Again, all the blinds in the unit do work the same way regardless of where they are. And then you're going to come to your fridge. To get that fridge to turn on, you just have to push and hold that power button. It's going to turn itself on. Currently, when you're in this option here, you're going to be adjusting your refrigerator temperature. So 5 is obviously the coldest settings, and then you can go down to 1, which will be the warmest settings. And then if you push this button, that's just going to allow you to control your freezer control separately. So it's not all on the same temperature if you don't want it to be. To turn it off, again, you're just pressing and holding that button, and it'll automatically turn itself off. You do have travel latches, so you do have to just click those before you go opening it. is a 12-volt fridge, so it will run as long as you have battery power or you're hooked up to your tow vehicle. On the wall here, you kind of got your monitor panel system where it's going to tell you all your levels for everything. And then you got your water pump switch, which turning that on draws from your fresh tank. And then you got your tank heater and your line heater. Those are essentially just pads stuck on there. And when you turn them on with electricity, they create heat. They're for extended camping season. But realistically, our Manitoba winters are going to get much too cold for us to use it here. It's really only good for like maybe -5 or -10, and that's going to be pushing it on its own. So just be mindful whenever you are using that you know, you do run the risk. You got your stereo right down below, just like home, minus the fact of having zone A and zone B. Of course, if you're using zone A, it's going to be the front speakers, and if you're using zone B, it's going to be the back bedroom speakers. Up top, you're going to notice you got your main air conditioner outlet. You got a couple different options. You can run these louvers open, in which case it's just going to dump all its air straight down into the living space, or you can close them and it'll push all its air through the ceiling ducting you have on this side and that side over here. Opening up this door does give you access to part of the bathroom. It's just going to be where your toilet and sink is. Again, another GFI plug on the wall there. Right up top, you're going to notice you got a fan. To get that to open, it isn't a fantastic fan, so you do just have to manually crank it. And you're going to notice when you do have it open, you just open up into the atmosphere. So if it were to start raining, it could get wet in here. So we do sell max air covers, so you could run that whether you're traveling or it's raining. If you'd like to get set up with that, you can contact our parts department and they can put a quote together for you so that you can get that installed. And again, just closing it, and you got your fan switch, of course, just in the corner there. Some storage space right up top of the toilet. There is a window in here and a sink with hot and cold water. That's going to be about it for in here. And then you're going to step it into the bedroom a little bit. This light switch back here is just on the wall. You're going to open up this door, and it's going to give you access into your bathroom here, which again, you have another fan in there, which isn't going to have to be covered at all. So just whenever it's raining, making sure it's closed. Light switch on the wall, hot and cold water. That's about it for that. Taking a step into the bedroom. First thing I'm going to mention, right on the wall here, it's going to say warning, safety latch must be engaged during travel. That's just right down here. That's just so that that door doesn't go flying around whenever you're traveling. It's very important to do so, that way it doesn't cause any damage, but give you a little privacy if you're wanting to sleep and you have guests over, or just sliding it over, locking it into place. On the wall, again, another max air control, which is going to work the same way as the front one. And then you got your thermostat, which works pretty simple. Hitting that button once is going to illuminate. Hitting it a second time will allow you to go through different modes, which is cool, heat, and then of course cool plus heat. So when it's on cool plus heat, it's going to decide which to kick on, whether that being the furnace or the AC, based on what you have your thermostat set to. And if you set it to cool, you got high and low fan settings for the air conditioner. The furnace isn't going to have any fan control. It's just going to have one speed. But whenever you're in auto for that air conditioner, it's an on-demand system. So when it reaches a certain temperature, it's going to cut out. If you do turn it over to just high or low with no auto, it runs full time regardless of what the thermostat's set to. And then whenever you're in cool or heat, turning this knob just changes the temperature you want the room to be. Just over to off to turn it off. Some storage all around, of course, in here. Underneath this bed here, if you just kind of flip it up, you're going to notice this trap door. This one's not screwed down, so you can just lift it up and it gives you access to that water pump for winterization. That's going to be it for this unit here. If you have any other questions, feel free to give us a call.